What is going on, guys? Back with another video. It's gonna be mainly with the FD, since that was the most requested car in the comments. Just make sure this video, y'all do the same, so any car y'all like to see, go ahead and request that, and I'll go ahead and get it done for you. But really hope y'all enjoy this one. Alright, so with the FD, first off, we're going to want to choose a track. I mean, honestly, it's whichever one you feel most comfortable with, but FD really benefits on high-speed maps like Akina, as well as high-speed grip maps Suchi. Tsubaki, I feel like it struggles a little bit, although, you know, I'm not the best at this car, but definitely could provide y'all with some knowledge. We will be running FD on Akina. Alright, so now that we're loaded in, just want to take a quick second to kind of go over how this car handles, what the braking point should look like. Now, it's a lot better to brake earlier for a lot of these corners than later, because with the FD, you're really trying to base it off that momentum. Now, just take a look at how long I'm holding it there. I'm keeping a slight bit of angle with my accelerator. However, I am not fully hitting that accelerator, because if I do, it's going to create a lot of wheel spin. Now, on the exit of the corner, flat out, you really got to angle yourself with this car. What I did here was I just tapped the joystick, left a slight bit, but yeah, you don't want to put too much input in, just a slight jolt to the left, and then once you've kind of stopped it there, there's nothing that can deviate you from the path, really. So if you just keep it, I'd say around half to about a quarter, that also works. You can also utilize FD's fourth gear. Notice on this next corner, it's going to be a fourth gear corner. I'm not going to give it very much throttle, about that much. Off the initial, once I get the FD into the angle that I need, then I get on that accelerator. I'll show you my front tire, just to show you that I'm not really doing anything too crazy with the wheel. Just turning it slightly to the right so I can get that angle, as well as using the brakes to really help with that rotation. Braking a lot earlier than you'd expect, even before the sign, it looked like. So braking, of course, just like in the Evo, is the most important factor in getting quick times. Alright, so we're going to get on to how to actually drift. There are quite a few corners where you're going to need to learn how to optimally drift. So coming into this first hairpin, I'm going to brake super early. Now at this point in time, you see how my revs almost immediately, all the way to 7. Clutch kicked. Clutch kicking helps in any turbo car. You can brake a little bit later using this technique. Not advised though, because you don't want to be overspeeding into the corner, yet you want to have a perfect amount of, I'd say about 65 kilometers an hour to about 70 coming into the corner, and then maintaining the drift, stay at about 55. But all I did here was using the brakes to really help with that rotation. So braking is going to play a very important role. When drifting, it's always best to just keep the throttle pinned. There's no real point in trying to fluctuate, honestly. But in that drift, I'm keeping my joystick practically centered. Not much movement going on there, other than counter steer. That's just little taps to the right. Your main goal should be mastering your braking and just how you're able to turn it to the corner. It really is just that simple though. Once you're at that angle, clutch kick, full throttle, your car will keep you planted. You have to gain that feeling where you will trust your car not to go off the road. And that just comes with time and experience. Alright, so this is where the FD gets a little bit tricky. Basically, what you're going to want to do, brake, get on the throttle. That doesn't even look like a quarter, I'd say 15% throttle. It lets you slide with a lot of momentum. Now, if you entirely let off, you'd be so much slower. Not only that, your car would just understeer horrendously. When you want to understeer, you gotta make sure you let off the throttle exactly like that. Once you let off the throttle there, your car is gonna be extremely stiff. Like right there is the point to where it just ripped up. So when the turbo drops like this, your car is gonna get really stiff and start to understeer heavily. But you can also use it to your advantage. You gotta make sure that you're setting yourself up for these corners. You can't overspeed too much because then that'll just lead to a bad line. But right here, taking the sector how I did, in terms of slowing down, making sure I had the right angle. Now a lot of these corners can be optimized, like this one. If I would have planted my back tire in that gutter, it would have been a lot smoother for me. You can use these gutters, really utilize them, because they are very important. Right here, probably one of my favorite gutters. If you can get really close, you just get an absurd amount of grip. Just to give you a reference, right here, I mean, it's alright turning in, but it really did leave me in a pretty scary situation there. If I would have turned in any more, my car would have been done for. Same here, because of how low the FD is. Sometimes the gutter will catch your car. You gotta make sure that you're allowing your car just a little bit of space. When you're driving these cars that are super low, sometimes they'll bounce. I'm letting off my throttle entirely. The replay doesn't even catch it on this one, but you're mainly just messing around with your boost for the throttle control. That's how you're gonna play this car. It's not full power. I honestly thought it was. You want to be very, very particular. Alright, so I figured this sector would be probably the best to dissect. I mean, it incorporates everything we've been talking about. So essentially with this car, we're trying to get to a middle ground of gripping and drifting. Right here, braking, letting off the throttle entirely, but just for a split second. Right there, letting off caused my car to understeer, but with the brakes, it also helped the oversteer. Getting back on the throttle and then hitting that 50% range, at least for mid-speed corners like this, is a lot more effective. I personally feel like my angle was a bit too drawn out on this corner. Could have done a lot better of a job either by gripping into the hairpin, either by gripping into the gutter, or just keeping it a lot straighter, braking a lot more. You see what happens when you don't brake enough? See how perfect that was? This right here didn't brake enough, and I just started to turn in, I guess, whenever I had my brakes going. And it was a little bit too much angle. A little too much, but this next corner, we hit fourth. and we let off the throttle entirely. We didn't even brake there. We just let off the throttle. We're getting that understeer back so we can plant that throttle down. It'll cause us to go into a slight angle. And now that we have that slight angle, we're good to go. Braking super early. Now, the problem with braking super early, and the reason I use clutch kick so often, is because braking super early can cause you to stall. So, the best way to prevent that in the middle of a run is to clutch kick. However, a lot of the times you'll go faster without it. I've noticed just pure throttle control, your braking management, they play a very big role. Those milliseconds that seem unattainable, if you just keep up constant practice with learning cars and learning how they react, how they handle, I guarantee your gameplay will get a lot better because you'll be a lot more mindful about the angle of your car, the angle when gripping. I really recommend y'all try gripping and drifting. Gripping is extremely important, but in a game where drifting is technically faster, I think we're all learning that gripping can be a serious contender. And you can apply what I've taught you to the FC. However, they don't handle the same. FD is very light. FC very stiff, very heavy. But almost with every turbo car, you can fluctuate that turbo. It's pretty insane, the level of grip that you get sometimes. But I really hope this helped y'all understand the FD, and I really hope that I taught y'all something of value. But if you enjoyed the video, make sure to comment down below what car you guys want next, and I'll make it happen.